In the quiet sprawl of Penshaw Ridge, a place that often pretended to be ordinary even when the shadows whispered otherwise, the night that changed everything began in the most ridiculous way imaginable, as Adam, loud as always and full of his usual unnecessary confidence, teased his best friend Jake outside Mama Minna's tiny rice stand, mocking the way Jake walked with that strange half-dragging stride he used whenever he was hungry. And just when Adam was about to add another insult that would have certainly earned him a slap, a man strolled past them with the perfect same height, same skin tone, same jawline, same everything as Jake, so perfectly identical that even the moonlight seemed confused. And this duplicate, this impossible stranger with Jake's exact face, turned with an expression that belonged to someone following instructions rather than instinct, and said in a chilling, measured voice that cut through the humid night air, "You weren't supposed to see me today," before walking away with a purpose so unnerving that Adam immediately stopped chewing, dropped his plastic spoon, and stared at the real Jake as if waiting for him to deny reality itself. Only Jake looked just as horrified, because he had no twin, no brother, no clone, at least none he knew about. And that moment marked the first crack in the fragile mirror of their ordinary lives, a crack that grew even wider the next morning, when police sirens tore through the neighborhood announcing that a wealthy businessman had been shot in front of his own gate at exactly 2:13 a.m., with CCTV footage clearly showing the killer as Jake, even though Jake had been in his room that night snoring with the intensity of a generator on its last breath, a fact conveniently recorded by his mother, who added loud, dramatic commentary that made the alibi too embarrassing to be fake. And while the internet laughed and made memes about sleepwalking Jake the hitman, Lisa Quill, a private investigator with a mind sharpened like a scalpel and a memory that bordered on unnerving, noticed something the police had ignored because all the wrongly accused victims, Jake included, had visited one single place before their lives unraveled. A seemingly harmless clinic named Bio-Twin Wellness Center, hidden behind a bright green logo and a soft marketing promise about unlocking your highest biological potential. And Lisa, who did not believe in coincidences, but did believe in interrogating lies with fire, booked an appointment and entered the building with the practiced smile of a woman pretending not to notice how the receptionist's grin felt too rehearsed, and how the walls, though clean, carried a sterile emptiness that made her suspect hidden intentions. And after being taken to a room for what they called a wellness scan, she hacked the system with a small device disguised as a powder mirror, finding a locked folder labeled Genesis Room. And when she opened it, her world tilted because inside were photos of dozens of ordinary citizens duplicated, cataloged, and assigned tasks like they were companies scheduling delivery men. And then she saw something that made her blood run cold. 2 files with her own face, one marked prototype and the other field test. And just as panic crawled up her throat, someone knocked, forcing her to shut everything and pretend she was lost, though she already knew she had stepped into something built to destroy lives without ever being seen. And she ran straight to Jake, showed him the evidence, and watched his disbelief crumble into fear, leading them to include Adam, mostly because he refused to stay out of it, and partly because he believed his imaginary martial arts skills would be useful, which Lisa doubted, but tolerated because chaos needed comedy sometimes. And together they broke into Bio-Twin at night, creeping through service corridors that hummed with mechanical coldness, until they reached a heavy metal door that Lisa unlocked with the quick precision of someone who enjoyed proving she was smarter than machines, revealing a room bathed in icy air where rows of transparent pods stretched endlessly, each containing a sleeping clone, each clone an exact copy of someone from the city, including teachers and bankers, and even one that looked exactly like Mama Minna, holding a spoon with a resting face that suggested she disapproved of whatever crime she had been assigned. And before they could fully absorb the horror, a calm voice echoed from behind them as Dr. Beck, a tall man with a sterile smile and a chilling lack of empathy, explained with bored confidence that these clones were engineered tools designed to commit crimes while their originals took the blame, creating a perfect cycle of chaos where the real lived in fear and the copies obeyed without hesitation. And when Jake asked in a trembling voice why he and others were chosen, Beck simply shrugged and said they were replaceable,
a word that snapped something deep inside Jake, who charged at him, triggering Beck to press a button that caused the pods to open and release an army of identical faces, including Jake's own clone, who approached with perfect posture and cold logic, insisting that the original must stop resisting, while Lisa fought off two clones with actual martial arts, and Adam swung a metal tray in panic while adding sound effects, until the room shifted when another figure entered, a woman who looked exactly like Lisa but moved with an eerie calm, her clone self claiming she had activated her own consciousness and was not loyal to Beck nor Lisa, but to the truth, splitting the clone army as half joined her and half stayed with Beck, turning the room into a battlefield of mirrored identities. And before Lisa could process the shifting alliances, Beck slammed a massive steel shutter that separated Lisa from her clone, then activated the Purge protocol, causing the facility to shake violently as pods began exploding and the ground warped beneath them, while Lisa's clone mouthed the word "run" through the glass just as the floor collapsed and the entire structure began sinking into the earth. And in that final horrifying moment, as Lisa held onto a rail when the world cracked open around her, she heard Dr. Beck laughing with a chilling certainty that suggested everything unfolding was only the beginning, because amidst the destruction, one clone had already escaped, Lisa's clone, and she was walking toward the surface with a purpose sharper than vengeance and a truth that promised to ignite a war between the real and the replicated, a truth that would become the heart of the next part, which begins the moment she finds Lisa.
The sinking facility groaned like a dying beast beneath the earth, and while Lisa clung to the metal rail with Jake holding her wrist and Adam screaming every prayer he ever half memorized, the collapse finally stopped just long enough for them to scramble out through a side tunnel that cracked open during the plunge, and they staggered into the outside world covered in dust, coughing, terrified and confused, yet alive. And as the night swallowed them, Lisa knew her clone was somewhere above ground calculating her next move, because she moved with the precision of someone who had studied Lisa's life deeper than Lisa herself ever had. And that meant the city wasn't just in danger, it was on borrowed minutes. So Lisa, Jake, and Adam limped toward the only safe place they could think of, the abandoned radio station on Baker Street, where Lisa once stored emergency gear for cases that twisted too far out of logic. And inside that dusty building, Lisa replayed everything they had seen, trying to stitch a plan out of the chaos, while Adam, still clutching the bent metal tray he insisted was now his signature weapon, asked whether clones needed sleep or whether they powered down like TV remotes. And though everyone ignored him, the question lingered, because if the clones didn't rest, they would already be spreading through the city like a silent infection. And Lisa knew the first one she had to find wasn't Beck or the hostile clones, but her own clone, the one who chose rebellion over obedience, the one who mouthed "run," the one whose intentions remained unreadable. And it didn't take long, because as dawn rose over Penshaw Ridge, the Lisa clone stepped into the radio station with a calmness so absolute it caused even Adam to hide behind a table. And she looked at the real Lisa with a mixture of recognition and detachment, saying she had no interest in replacing her, but she had something the original didn't: access codes to the master registry, the database that stored every clone's command structure and override parameters. And she explained that Dr. Beck was still alive inside the collapsed facility, protected by a secondary bunker designed for leadership personnel. And he was already transmitting emergency commands to any surviving loyal clones, instructing them to activate Phase Omega, a protocol designed to eliminate the originals entirely, replacing living citizens with manufactured versions who would live quietly but obediently. A plan that would effectively rewrite the city's identity while leaving no trace of the theft. And hearing that tightened Lisa's chest with a fiery sense of urgency, forcing her to ask what the clone wanted in return for helping them. And the clone answered with a simplicity that was unsettling. She wanted autonomy, a life not controlled by Beck or Lisa or any system, a chance to exist without being a copy. And Lisa, seeing the strange, painful sincerity in her clone's eyes, agreed without hesitation, knowing that trust was a gamble,
but survival demanded risk. So the four of them, Lisa, Jake, Adam, and Lisa's clone, began their trek back toward the collapsed biotwin facility, which now lay half-buried beneath heaps of soil and shattered concrete, like a wounded predator hiding its teeth. And the clone led them through a newly formed fissure she claimed was connected to a ventilation grid Beck used for emergency evacuation, guiding them deeper until the air grew colder and the metallic echo of their footsteps reminded them that the building wasn't as dead as it seemed, because beneath the rubble lived machines still breathing digitally, and somewhere below, Beck waited like a spider with half-burned webs. And when they reached the hidden chamber, they saw him standing behind a semi-intact control console, cheeks streaked with dust, yet smiling with the arrogance of a man who believed he still owned everyone's future. And he greeted Lisa with a condescending tilt of his head, insisting she had no chance of stopping what he already unleashed. But Lisa's clone stepped forward and entered the master override code with rapid precision, initiating a system-wide lockdown that froze every active clone mid-motion wherever they were in the city, turning streets, markets, and offices into landscapes of motionless replicas. And Beck, seeing his empire paralyzed, lunged toward the clone with fury that twisted his face, but Jake tackled him with the raw anger of someone reclaiming his stolen identity, pinning Beck against the console, while Adam swung his dented tray not effectively but enthusiastically enough to distract Beck until Lisa issued the final command, the Purge Vault sequence, a code that would erase every stored clone template, deactivate every command center, and shut down all replication machinery in one irreversible sweep. And the moment she hit execute, alarms erupted, machinery roared, and the entire chamber shook as the cloning system began dismantling itself from the inside, causing pipes to burst and walls to crack, while Beck screamed that they didn't understand what they were destroying, insisting the clones were the next evolution of civilization. But Lisa stepped close enough for him to see the fury in her eyes and told him there was nothing evolutionary about enslaving people, stealing their faces, and weaponizing their lives. And as the purge completed, the city above began to shift, the immobilized clones dissolving into harmless biomatter that evaporated into the air like dust, losing its memory, leaving only the originals behind, confused but unharmed. And down in the collapsing bunker, Lisa and her clone exchanged a final look filled with an unspoken agreement. The clone had kept her word, and Lisa would keep hers. So as the chamber caved in and the floor cracked beneath them again, Lisa grabbed Jake and Adam while the clone sprinted toward a different exit, choosing freedom in her own direction. And Beck, in one final act of pathetic desperation, tried to escape through a side panel, only to be pinned under collapsing metal beams as the bunker sealed itself permanently, ending his twisted legacy beneath the rubble he created. And when Lisa, Jake, and Adam finally emerged into the daylight, bruised, breathless, and coated in debris, the city stood strangely quiet, as if it sensed a story had ended, even though it would never know the details. And Jake asked what would happen if another hidden facility existed somewhere else, if another Beck had started something similar. But Lisa, exhausted yet steady, replied that whatever came next, they would face it with truth, resistance, and a refusal to let anyone decide their identity for themselves. And Adam, still clutching his dented tray like a trophy, declared that if another clone ever appeared, this time he was ready. Not with karate, but with Tray Combat Level 1, which made Lisa laugh for the first time in days, a laugh that carried relief, victory, and the knowledge that although the world had nearly been rewritten, they had pulled it back from the edge. And as the sun rose fully over Penshaw Ridge, the story ended not with darkness or uncertainty, but with the grounding truth that no matter how perfect a copy may be, nothing, absolutely nothing, can replace the flawed, stubborn, unpredictable will of the original.